It began as an ordinary day. The man, whom we will refer to as the protagonist, had always been a creature of habit. His morning routine was meticulous. He rose at 6 a.m., brewed a pot of strong coffee, and read the newspaper while enjoying his breakfast. His life was marked by predictability, a constant he found comfort in. However, on this particular day, something felt off. As he looked into the bathroom mirror, he noticed a peculiar change. His normally fair skin had taken on a slightly grayish hue. At first, he dismissed it as a trick of the light or perhaps a result of working too late into the night. But the unsettling feeling lingered. Throughout the day, the protagonist couldn't shake off the unease. He felt a strange, itching sensation all over his body, as if his skin was too tight. By evening, the discoloration had spread. His skin now had a distinctly mottled appearance, a mix of grays and sickly greens. Panic began to set in. The next morning, the changes were even more pronounced. His skin had turned a deep, unnatural green. He noticed patches of rough, scaly texture developing on his arms and legs. Terrified, he called in sick and rushed to the nearest hospital. The doctors ran numerous tests, but could find no explanation. They could only offer a series of bewildered shrugs and a referral to a specialist. The specialist, a dermatologist renowned for tackling rare skin conditions, was equally baffled. The changes in the protagonist's skin were unlike anything he had ever seen. He took a biopsy and sent it to the lab, promising to call with the results as soon as possible. The protagonist returned home, his mind racing with fear and confusion. Days turned into weeks, and the transformation continued. His skin became tougher, more like armor than flesh. His features began to distort, taking on a more grotesque appearance. The itching gave way to a dull, constant ache. He withdrew from the world, locking himself in his apartment, afraid to let anyone see the monstrous changes overtaking his body. One night, he woke to an excruciating pain. It felt as if his bones were being twisted and reshaped from within. He stumbled to the bathroom and stared in horror at his reflection. His eyes had turned a sickly yellow, and his mouth was filled with sharp, uneven teeth. His hands were no longer hands but claw-like appendages. He was becoming something else, something inhuman. Desperate for answers, he scoured the internet for any clue, any hint of what might be happening to him. He stumbled upon an obscure forum discussing mysterious transformations and unnatural occurrences. One thread caught his eye, a story eerily similar to his own. It spoke of a man who had undergone a similar transformation, eventually turning into a monstrous creature. The forum members speculated wildly about the cause. Some suggested a rare genetic mutation. Others pointed to ancient curses or alien experiments. But one post stood out. It claimed that the transformation was the result of a secret government experiment gone wrong. The author of the post described how the government had been conducting experiments to create super soldiers. But something had gone terribly wrong, resulting in horrific transformations. The protagonist's mind raced. Could it be true? Had he somehow been unknowingly subjected to such an experiment? He recalled a minor surgery he had undergone a few months prior, a procedure that seemed routine at the time. But what if it wasn't? Determined to find answers, he decided to track down the author of the post. After days of searching, he found a contact email. He sent a desperate message, pleading for more information. To his surprise, he received a reply almost immediately. The author, who went by the alias Observer, agreed to meet in person. The meeting took place in a secluded park, late at night. The protagonist, now barely able to disguise his monstrous appearance, waited anxiously. A hooded figure approached and sat beside him on the bench. The observer revealed that he had once been part of a covert government project aimed at enhancing human capabilities. The experiment had gone horribly wrong, leading to uncontrollable transformations. The observer explained that the government had tried to cover up the failures by erasing all evidence and silencing those involved. The protagonist's surgery had been a front, a way to implant the experimental serum without his knowledge. The transformation was irreversible. There was no cure. The protagonist's heart sank. He realized that his fate was sealed. As the observer continued to speak, sudden noise startled them both. Government agents, having tracked the observer's communications, swarmed the park. The protagonist, now more beast than man, fought desperately to escape. In the chaos, he managed to flee, but the observer was captured. Now on the run, the protagonist's transformation accelerated. He could no longer hide his monstrous form. He roamed the city at night, searching for food, evading capture. He became an urban legend, whispered about in fear. The man who had once lived a life of routine and predictability was now a creature of nightmares. The government intensified their efforts to capture him, deploying special units to hunt him down. He fought back, using his newfound strength and abilities, but he knew it was only a matter of time before they caught him. His mind, once sharp and rational, was slipping away, overtaken by the primal instincts of the creature he had become. One fateful night, cornered in an abandoned warehouse, the protagonist made a final stand. As the government forces closed in, he unleashed all his rage and strength. The battle was fierce, but in the end, he was overwhelmed. As he lay dying, he realized that he had become the very monster he had feared. His humanity was gone, consumed by the transformation. His last thought was of the life he had lost, the normalcy he had taken for granted. As darkness closed in, he heard the distant wail of sirens and the approaching footsteps of the agents who had hunted him. The nightmare was over, but the horror of what he had become would linger on in the shadows of the city, a cautionary tale of a man whose life was irrevocably changed by forces beyond his control. The end came swiftly, mercifully. But the memory of the monster he had become would haunt the city forever, a grim reminder of the dangers of tampering with the unknown and the price of human experimentation gone awry.